How do you get this design all carved out and all set up and ready to carve from this simple little SVG? Stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to show you. Hey everybody, it's me again. I'm going to start a new little video series here, and I'm starting it basically because I sell some of my CNC files on Etsy, and I get a lot of questions of how do I do the tool paths, what tools do I use, do I use an end mill, do I use a V-bit? A lot of beginners are really picking up my stuff on Etsy, so I figured I'd go through with each design that I have on there and just how I've made the tool paths. Now, how I make the tool paths, how other people make the tool paths could be different. People like different things. This is the way I like to do it, and kind of the way that I like how it comes out. I use V-Carve desktop. Current version I have is 10.5. I know everybody doesn't use V-Carve, but what I'm showing today should just kind of be the basics to give you an idea. Again, what tool to use, just how I set up the tool paths. This isn't specifically to show you how tool paths work on Vcarve. It's more specific to my designs. As we go through the designs, I will point out what tools that I use are end mills, and I will link some affiliate links in the description to what I use. My common end mill is Amana. I do have some Whiteside and Diablo, but I do tend to stick with Amana. It's just they seem to last a little bit longer to me. So let's start getting in. Let's take a look at what we're doing here. Just right away, alright, job setup is good. Right away, when I do my design, I border it out. So the designs, I had always built flags for the Jeff Fur design. So the square was, let's take a look at what it actually is. My square was 10.5 by 13, or my union, I'm sorry. That's what I built mine to. Now, if you do want to adjust the size, you would want to, grab everything and adjust your size. I built this in here just as a way for people, that way we're getting a precise size when it gets cut. I used to cut it out on a table saw and just do the stars and the design. But I found that was kind of getting mixed results. So I started going and made the piece a little bit bigger and put in my 10.5 by 13 union so this can be cut out. I keep losing my little highlighter here for my mouse pointer. I did it again. So first thing, we'll focus on the outline. So we see here, we've got a few different toolpath options. So the one that I'm going to pick right here is a profile. Now when I do the profile, I use a 1/4 inch end mill in my CNC. Obviously you can use an 1/8 inch if that's what you have. You just got to understand that you're going to be taking more, you're going to be taking shallower cuts going through it because it's not as rigid of a bit. So I use an Amana 1/4 inch. My start depth, these should be 3/4. Actually, I'm sorry. Start depth is 0. Cut depth is 3/4 of an inch. I use standard measurements on here. I'm starting to kind of get more toward metric, but I'm not there yet with this. Yes, it's going to throw, if you're in Vcarve, it'll throw a warning. My material thickness for this is set for 1/2 inch. I do my stuff out of 3/4 inch. So it will cut through. Now, when you... It actually did what I didn't want it to do. So my machine vectors, I have them cut outside and to the right of the line. So in this case, it is going to cut and leave the line. I got to get back to my 2D view. So if I cut right on the line, it would take, we would have, what, an 1/8 inch it would be taken off, so we'd be losing some measurements. If I cut on the inside or left side, it would be taking a 1/4 inch, so we'd lose a 1/4 inch on each side, which would be a 1/2 inch all the way across. So I always go out to the right, that way it's cutting right up to that line, you're getting that exact measurement. I do the climb, the direction doesn't matter in my case. You can do a separate last pass. A separate last pass will kind of clean everything up, which will be good for glue ups and stuff like that. So we'll just throw it on there. We'll put it in the reverse direction. Now, I do add toolpaths to this tab, and it just keeps it in place because we have some work to do. Cutting out the profile is my last step, but you cut out the profile, you cut all the way through, it gets loose, you'd have problems. You don't want a loose piece in there. So we'll add some tabs, and we'll actually hit the edit button, and I'll just put 4 in. And close. Now we got our tabs in there. They're about 1/2 inch tab and an 1/8 inch thickness. All we want, excuse me. All we want is enough there, just that it's got some meat to hold on to so your material isn't moving around. I do add the ramps. It is nice to ramp into your cut instead of just diving right into it. It's easier on the bit, it's easier on the machine. So I do a zigzag, so it goes left and right or up and down, depending which way you start. About we're going to actually go 2 inches. And it'll just gradually get deeper as it does that. And that's it. For what we're doing here on this specific design, we don't have any 3D models, so we'll just hit the calculate. Again, it's going to give me that warning. And it's showing you what your toolpath is right here. So what we can do is preview all toolpaths, and you can see what your end, if you double click on the offcut here, you can see exactly what your end piece is going to be. Very important, keep your eyes on this little preview. It'll basically, what's in the preview, as long as your machine is set up right, is going to be what comes off the machine. So keep an eye on this. And you'll notice, let's get my cursor back. You'll notice we have the 3D view, which we're in right now, which is our preview. And we have the 2D view, which is our design. So next thing I'm going to want to work on, and we can close this little window here so we get back to our setup. Let's actually do this. We'll set that up properly. So the next thing we're going to work on, let's get into the stars. We're kind of going from easiest to hardest in this case, and we'll show off a few different things when we get into the design, but the stars are pretty easy. So if we go, hold the select button, and you can grab your stars. And you can grab several at a time if you want. And I always, if you move from the left to the right when dragging, you don't need to encase the whole star. All you have to do is have a little piece of it and you grab it. If you go from right to left, you have to have the whole star. You have to cover the whole star. So. Alright, so now we've got all our stars selected. We are actually, in this case, we're going to go to a V-Carve. And this is going to get you a little bit more detail. It's going to get crisper lines, crisper points than what any of the end mills will get or a profile will get. Obviously, if you have a profile, it's a round bit. If you're using a profile, your stars are going to be a little bit rounded at the points. So let's get into this. Start depth, I'm not going to put a start depth in here. I am going to let the machine, decide the start depth, which it is basically going to create the depth. It's going to go along the vectors and go only as deep as what the bit is large. I am using a 90 degree, let me see what else I have in here. Yeah, I use a 90-degree half-inch V-bit. This one I have is actually a Diablo V-bit, so I will post that, the affiliate link to that. You can go bigger. Again, it's what your preference is. Take a look, see what you like. This is just getting you a pretty good start. Now, for the stars, I really don't use a clearance tool. They go really quick. Basically, the bit is going to go to the center. It's going to go down as deep as it can until basically the bit is touching these 5 vectors. And then it's going to raise up as it goes to the corners. And it's going to stay in these vectors, obviously. So, no clearance tools are needed. That's basically it for the V-Carve. Now, we can name this, which is easier. I always forget to name them, but in this case we will. And we'll calculate that out. So now you see we got the stars here. So let's preview all toolpaths again. We can't delete the waste material now because you see in our design we actually have the tabs. But now you'll see what the stars actually do. You'll see how the bit kind of goes down in and comes up to the corners, so it gives you sharp corners. And it gives you that kind of a, I would say, a reverse kind of 2D look. When people look at some of my stuff, they think that it's actually 3D. It's actually carved in. It's 2.5D. And that's what a V-Carve is. So we can close out of here. We can go to our 2D view, and it appears my little highlighter stayed up there. Now we're going to start working on the actual design. So we're going to show a couple things here. First thing that we're going to do, again, we are going to, and we're going to shift and we're going to get rid of the stars. So we're going to grab everything and just kind of show what that would look like. This is not a fast process for your first time, but you know, you save your settings after it and you can, it's very repeatable. So we got this. We're actually going to take this design and we are going to group the objects so we can hit it easier next time. You saw that the grouping objects was just select what you want to group and hit group objects. To ungroup, you hit ungroup objects. Really simple. So we're going to select that. We're going to do a V-Carve on this. So again, I'm not setting a start depth yet. Let's take a look at what it looks like. I am going to use a 60-degree V-bit, so that is going to get you finer detail than a 90. And you can go, I think I got a 22 and an 18 too. So we're going to select a 60-degree V-bit, which is another 1/4 inch. We will select that one. Again, I'm not seeing that I'm going to need clearance tools yet. So let's just calculate it and see what it looks like. We'll reset our preview and we'll preview the toolpaths. Alright, that's a really good start there. We basically got everything we're looking for, and that was just selecting the whole thing. So again, we got our stars here that we're V-carving in. We got our letters, and you see you're getting the nice detail in here. Getting all your detail. And a 60-degree V-bit is actually going to carve deeper than what a 90-degree V-bit will. It's a smaller angle, so it's able to get deeper and stay on those vectors. I've actually, this star area, let me get this star area here, I've played with quite a bit, and actually it seems really too simple, but this is the best way that it comes out. So now that we've got our profile and all our toolpaths cut out, in my case, I could save the image preview, but I have no, well, actually I do. We're going to save this image preview. Let's choose a better wood. Nice thing about Vcarve, it just gives you so many different options. It's a really powerful tool. We'll actually go with walnut because it looks neat, and we'll save our preview out. And I'll just put that on the desktop for now. So you can save your preview out, and you see that I've saved the previews before, because that's what, in some cases, I have that in the Etsy link. So next thing you would be doing is saving your toolpaths out. Now each one's going to get saved separately. My machine, like most of you, we got to change the bits by ourselves, so each one is separate. Again, you notice I'm guilty. I didn't name this again. Hovering over it, you get a pretty good idea. You know what your feeds and speeds are set for, what your bit is. I don't pay attention. I override the speeds and feeds in my machine. This also gives you an estimated time. So this carve is going to take about 25 minutes to cut out at the feeds and speeds in there. The stars are going to take about 13, and the V-Carve is going to take about an hour and a half. Now, I do go through and adjust these when I really want to know, but I really focus on the overrides in the machine. It seems it's a little bit more control for me, and it's just a little bit more, I'm more confident in the machine. And that's it. That's how I make the Army Crest Union. That's how I cut it out. Now you can change up. I mean, you could get like a 22-degree V-bit. You would be getting a lot more detail. Keep in mind, like I said, the V-bit goes deeper. So you could get to a certain point where you may be clearing here. You know, like in this S, it may clear that out. I've just found that this 60 is perfect with those settings. This is a nice design where you don't have to be doing a clearance run. I do have designs where clearance runs are needed, so that's it. That's all I got for you on this one. I will start working on more of these, and I will catch you guys later. Enjoy.